So welcome everybody to ShinKyu University. I'm so excited to be here today because I'm introducing a very good, now I would consider friend, and also one of my students in ShinKyu University, Noelle. Noelle is working currently in Costa Rica, but I met her originally at the Colorado School of Traditional Chinese Medicine, which is now called CCMU. I forget what the acronym stands for already, but yeah, and so Noelle has been in ShinKyu now for how long? How long have you been within the program?
About a year.
Okay, so I would love to, I think it's really important for other practitioners who are looking to learn Japanese acupuncture to see yes, this is where you could be in 20 years if you're like Stephen Brown, but also this is how far you can get in a really short period of time if you're really dedicated to studying a particular style or a particular branch of the medicine. So with that, I would love Noelle if you could just tell everyone a little bit about how you got into the medicine and where you studied and how you kind of came to Japanese acupuncture and moxibustion.
Okay, so my first experience with acupuncture was kind of miraculous. I had gotten parasites in Peru, and I couldn't walk. It had gone into my joints, and my knees were super swollen, and it started up a Crohn's disease flare-up, which is something that I had been dealing with for a really long time, since I was about 12 years old. So fast forward, I was 26 and laying in bed. I couldn't walk or anything. And my husband was saying, "Oh, well, I just met somebody who's an acupuncturist. Why don't you go try acupuncture?" And within 3 sessions, I was able to walk again, and my digestion changed, and it just opened up my a new lens to view the world through. I didn't know this was possible, and who knew that you're connected with nature and all these things. Wow. So I didn't start acupuncture right away, but it was a little seed that was planted in my head. And then fast forward, I got pregnant when I was 27, and after giving birth, well, at first I used acupuncture to induce my labor. Sorry if it's noisy right now, but it worked really well to induce my labor, and so that was kind of miraculous for me. And then I got a really bad Crohn's disease flare-up postpartum, and I was unable to really care for my child. I had to wear diapers. It was really traumatic for me. And I was going to see an acupuncturist regularly, and she got me into remission. And as I was laying there on the table, I was like, you know what? I think I want to do this, I want to be of service to people in this way. And not only that, but she was able to have her children in the office, and she treated kids, and she was always happy. And I was like, that's what I want. I want to do that. So
awesome.
I bought a ticket to Colorado. I was just looking online, and I was like, well, this is a small school. It looks like I'll get more one-on-one attention. And so we just moved to Colorado, and I'd never been there before. And my family said, okay. And so we just took the leap. Yeah.
I had no idea because, when I met you, you were already, I think, gosh, I can't remember where in your education I met you. Was it in moxa class?
Yeah, so actually I had already graduated, and I went back for herbalism, but I wanted to keep doing the acupuncture stuff because I felt like I wasn't really that confident in my skills, and I wanted more skills. So I went and took classes I had already taken before. And then my husband had kind of got deported, so we had to leave in the middle of that training, and we went down to Costa Rica.
Wow, I had no idea. I mean, I'm sorry, I just have to ask because I'm so interested now. So the acupuncturist in Peru, did she give you herbs for the parasites as well?
No, actually the acupuncturist was here in Costa Rica. He didn't give me herbs. He's a shamanistic acupuncturist, which is he mentored under somebody in Korea, and then he moved down here and he started doing ayahuasca ceremonies. And so he weaved a lot of mental meditation and stuff into the acupuncture sessions. So he would do the needles and then walk me through a guided meditation. And it kind of got me in a nice mindset to be able to change my way of thinking, around the disease process. And it worked. It was really great.
Wow. That is super cool. That is really cool. Well, so you went to now CCMU, but CSTCM, you got your degree, you went back for herbalism, and then you had to give, stop it midway through and go back to Costa Rica. At what point were you like, actually, I want to do Japanese style acupuncture and moxibustion? I mean, why not go? And it sounds like a weird question, but why not go and study with the shaman, or this acupuncturist shaman who was really effective for you though? Like, I want to meet him. He's really cool.
So I guess I have to backtrack a little bit. Before I graduated during COVID, I had this really nice opportunity to work with, Kubota Sensei,
Yeah.
online. And so he introduced me to Ishizaka Ryu, style of acupuncture. And he got me really into practicing, like one needle reloading, and I was like, wow, this is something we don't learn, in the Chinese medicine school. And he was really adamant on like, my self-cultivation and like practice. And even though he wasn't really big on theory, it was more like develop your hands, develop your skills, and you're going to be a good acupuncturist. And he's like, get out of your brain, because I'm really in my brain a lot of times. And he's like, and into your hands. And he's an Aikido practitioner, so he was very into like posture. And I don't know, I it really resonated with me, even though that style was a little bit more harsh. It's more I don't know how to say it. It's not as gentle as what you're used to with a Japanese acupuncture session.
Like orthopedic, for those who aren't, who don't know Kubota Sensei, I did an interview with him on the channel where he kind of explains Ishizaku-ryu, but it was originally created for samurai, and samurai were very physical people. They were going to war. They were constantly fighting, so it's a bit more aggressive from what I understand.
Yeah. Aggressive is a right word. But his teachings really stuck with me. And also his nutritional advice, because I actually was having a flare up at the time when I was studying with him, and he got me into like the macrobiotic diet, and he really like shifted my view around like nutrition. And it was just like a really beautiful time that I spent with him. And so after that, I figured out that I don't have to be as aggressive as what we were being taught in CCMU, because a lot of it's like get the chi, like you want to see the trigger points jumping and all this stuff. And I was like, oh, it's not really necessary if I can develop myself, and so that's what I was striving to do. I wanted to get myself to a place where I could be gentler with patients, and especially with kids, because I treat my own kids and elderly. I treat a lot of elderly people too, so they also don't want a lot of stimulation most of the time.
Yeah, no, they're quite sensitive. Well, that's, I think it's a super interesting path that you've walked, and I like to call them origin stories, but we all have our own unique reason for wanting to come into acupuncture. Like it's definitely a calling. Most people aren't like, I'm gonna make money doing acupuncture and just like randomly choose the job. So it's super, yeah, it's not an accountant. we're not that job. So tell me, you decided you really liked Japanese acupuncture, but maybe Ishizaku-ryu wasn't the choice for you. So how did you find your way into ShinKyu? Because I met you after that. I think it was, you were already in Costa Rica and you were kind of looking for something else.
Yeah, so I'm here in Costa Rica. I'm like one of the only acupuncturists in my town. And so now that I've been here for almost 3 years, there's some people have moved here, and they're like maybe like 30-minute drives away from me. So I'm the only one that's actually in the city that has an office. Everybody else treats out of their house. And I felt very alone here. I had nobody to like bounce ideas off of or even trade treatments with. I've just been treating myself. And so I saw what you were offering, and I had trained with you before in CCMU. So I was like, okay, she knows, she's got skills, and that's what I want to develop. And so I joined to be part of community, and also to have somebody that I could continue to bounce ideas off of and continue to practice.
So if you wouldn't mind, like, tell me, I know we had originally met a little bit at CCMU, and you were kind of like looking for something after Ishizaku-ryu. So tell me why you decided to get into ShinKyu University at that point in time.
So I had already been here for about 2.5 years when I contacted you, and I was the only acupuncturist in my town. So I'm the only one that has an office in the city And since then, there's some people that have moved here, but I had nobody to like bounce ideas off of or to even like exchange treatments with. I was just kind of like left on my own after graduation. And so I really wanted some kind of community or somebody to at least hold me accountable and be like, you haven't been practicing, or, even though I have that self-motivation, but it's just nice to do it with other people.
Yeah, no, and I think, I talked to so many different acupuncturists, but I think the really like the very, very common point that you just spoke to is that once people graduate from acupuncture school, in most Western countries, you're just kind of flung out into the world. They're like, well, enjoy life, be a practitioner, be good at what you do, but I think it's really difficult to do that without support and a community. Like in Japan, we always have the Benkyokai. We always have our study group that we can, whichever we decide to go through. And every month we meet with those practitioners and they support us and it's great. And that system just doesn't exist. Well, here in Colorado, where I'm at right now. And it sounds like it doesn't exist in Costa Rica either. I know it doesn't exist in a lot of other countries that I have students in. And it's really unfortunate that I find that we as practitioners have a really hard time. I don't know if you agree, but in the West, like practitioners don't really support each other very well. Like it's very competitive and kind of isolated. And it sounds like you were feeling that as well in Costa Rica, even though, it's such a gorgeous place.
Well, I mean, acupuncture is not even legal here. So everybody that has an acupuncture license or is a practitioner is here as an expat usually. And they are very competitive, because it's like it's their only way to make a living. It's not like they could go and get a job somewhere else. And so they definitely try to monopolize whatever area that they're in. I don't like to work that much, so I'm not very competitive when it comes to that. I just, try to do my best in whatever I'm doing. If somebody wants a different practitioner, I support that.
That was one of the main drivers. And I do remember you asked me something like, why didn't I go study with the guy that I had gotten acupuncture with the first time here? And it didn't work out. I have 2 kids and he was expecting like me to go live in his retreat center and like live and breathe his way of doing it and follow him around with a notebook. And like, I'm a mom and I own my own.
You can't do that.
There's no way I could do that. And it just seemed like, even though I really wanted to learn his style, it just wasn't no, the doors weren't opening, so it wasn't the place for me to go. And then I saw that you started advertising this and I was like, this seems right. And I know that you have a lot of experience with pediatric acupuncture. And so I was like, okay, that would give me an in to be able to study a little bit more pediatric acupuncture. And then also I was in the middle of an herb program whenever I had reached out to you and we were studying the Shanghanlun and I was like, this is an amazing, book. And I really love it because I have a raw herb pharmacy and I don't have the convenience of ordering granules that are like pre-made all the time. I have to use the herbs that I have here. And the Shanghanlun's herbs are just like so succinct, it's like 4 or 5 in a formula. And, the modern TCM herbal formulas are like 25 something herbs and it's just not doable for me. But I loved the idea that you could practice the Shanghanlun style, the 6 conformations and see it in the human body and use it as an acupuncture, roadmap when you're doing acupuncture. And so you started talking about the Shanghanlun and the Yashinomichi, and I had no idea what that was, but it was just putting all the pieces that I wanted from acupuncture were like in your group. And so I was like, I guess this is the road, this is the door that's opening and I should do that. So I followed my heart and I'm glad I did.
Oh, thank you. Well, and I think it's really interesting to touch on the fact that you are a little bit isolated in your community and your geographic location, which by the way, as I just mentioned before we started the recording, that it looks like you're on vacation all the time. And Deirdre and I are always talking about how we can get your life. And we're like, how do we figure out her life? But I think it's really important to note that a lot of people, a lot of practitioners are geographically very isolated. And a lot of them are even in their own communities. Like here in Denver, where I'm at right now, there are a lot of acupuncturists. But I think, Noelle, like you lived here before for a little bit. I think you could probably comment to the fact that even though there's so many acupuncturists here in Denver, you still feel pretty darn isolated. And I think, I don't know if that's something specific to the United States, but I think a lot of acupuncturists in the US particularly are very catty. Like they don't, not, I don't even know if catty is the right word, but they don't like to communicate and they don't like to congregate and they don't like to share quite as much. And so when you're going to learn, it becomes, I don't know if you feel that way. I think I felt that way when I moved here. Do you agree with that? Is that just me?
No, I think there's like a little bit of like a business rivalry maybe.
Yeah.
Or there's a, I don't know why there's so many. When I was in acupuncture school, I was told so many times like this is the right way to practice acupuncture by like many different acupuncturists, and it's like the tongue style, the the TCM style, and everybody's like this is the right way, and so they're kind of like, I don't know, isolating themselves in that style too. But here it's the same. Like in my doctorate program, I had this grand idea. I was like, I'm going to make a licensing board in Costa Rica and I'm going to bring all the acupuncturists together. And then I started messaging all the acupuncturists and they're like, no, thanks. So
Really?
like, okay, so everybody's kind of like cats doing their own thing.
Yeah.
So
Uh-huh. Well, that's interesting to know. I think a lot of practitioners I talk to feel very, they just feel really discombobulated and really, lonesome, I guess is a good word for it. There's not a lot of places. And then, I mean, going back to the fact that the other practitioner, which I know he sounds like an amazing practitioner, but how feasible, although amazing, an opportunity to go and live and work with someone and really mentor in their style is a great opportunity, but really, how feasible is that for most people? Like it's not going to happen. Um, so I think all really good points there, but also I'd like to come to the fact that you have like a really eclectic practice and you're trying to teach pediatrics. So I'd love to hear how the platform has affected your practice and, how it's, either helped or distracted from your practice as it continues to grow, because I've really seen your practice take a lot of leaps and it's kind of fun to watch, but tell me all about that.
so I guess when I first started, like I said, I was like in an herbal mentorship. I was focusing more on the herb aspect because I felt my acupuncture techniques weren't as strong as they could
Mm,
be. So I knew you don't need a lot of techniques with herbs. You just need a lot of brain power. So I was like, I got that. I could do that.
mm,
But then with that comes a lot of complications. There's people don't take their herbs. It's like so many variables that are out of your control. And my practice was kind of a mess. It was like so I couldn't tell what was going to happen. It's like if they followed
mm,
it to a T, if they did what I said, maybe I could predict the outcomes. But so much is out of my control with the herbs, and so
yeah.
that was a little bit frustrating. And so I came into ShinKyu and I was like, I need to get better at my skills and really get to a place with my acupuncture to where I do something and I know it's going to happen. Like that's still
Mm.
my goal. I don't get that all the time.
None of us
But
do. None of us do.
that's where my goal is. And it's like way up
Mm,
here. Like I want to be able to know that this is going to happen every time. Um, and through the practice of moxa and all the direct moxa that I used to practice only on myself because in school we weren't practice on other people. So all the direct moxa that I did was on myself, and I didn't have the confidence to practice it on my patients. Um, I took a big leap and started doing it on every patient, and I noticed that it was really efficacious. And now I do it. Now it's like I don't have a treatment that doesn't have it. Pretty much, it's like
mm.
but my confidence and my skill level with it has definitely increased, and that's made a big impact in the effectiveness of my acupuncture. Another thing, sorry, my cat's decided to fight right now. Um, hey, 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 hey. Um, Another thing is I used to rely a lot on electrical stimulation with the points
Oh,
because I
okay.
didn't really know what is tone, like I knew to tonify a point, to sedate a point, but I didn't really have like a lot of control of like, am I warming this point? What am I doing to this point? And so I was just like, I'm just gonna put e-stim on it and just stimulate it, and let it go.
Oh, interesting.
Which works sometimes, and then sometimes it didn't, and I didn't really understand why. And now I do a lot more because I'm trying to move more into the Ashinomichi style of practice. I'm much more present with each point that I'm doing. I spend time with each point. I carefully select it. I'm like really having a conversation with the person's body and the person's chi of like, what am I doing? And maybe if I don't really know exactly how it's going to respond, at least I'm so present now that I know like I'm clearing heat. I'm tonifying, I'm warming this area. And I feel like that has made it's much more consistent. So I'm getting much more consistent results, less variables, I guess.
I love that. I love all of that. I mean, it's really fun, so I haven't done a lot of these like check-ins with the students, up until this point in the program. I meet you guys every month and like I see your practice and I can see you continuing to improve, but I don't have the time to really be like, okay, what exactly is happening and how, like I haven't had the time to really check in and feel that confidence build. And I love that you are getting, first of all, more confident in moxa. I'm really sad that they didn't let you practice on other people in CSTCM. That is something that I have begun to change in that school, thankfully. But and I understand why they had that rule, but still, I mean, as you just said, it's so important to be able to practice not only on yourself but on your clients too and on other people, because otherwise you don't know how to implement it. You don't know what results you're going to get. You don't know, like, the confidence and all of that piece just doesn't come into play. So I love that. But what I find really interesting, and I think it's mainly because, again, I studied in Japan in this different paradigm where e-stem was used, but like really like it's taught for like a class, and that's all we really use it for. So I find it really interesting that you were just using e-stem in every single, like in every single case, and just being like, well, it'll stimulate the needle. Can you expand on that a little bit? And was that just you going, well, I need to do something and I'm not sure about my technique? Or would you say that's something that's normal or?
Well, I think part of it was that when I was in CSTCM, I really loved the MSK class. And
Yeah.
so learning how to work, sports medicine and stuff, you use e-stim all the time. So especially in my pain patients, I would use it to try to like, I don't know, make stronger the bones or like tighten the ligaments, like those types of things I was using it for. But also like I felt like people are paying me money. I need to do as much as I can to make them feel like they're getting their money's worth. So I was overtreating a lot. I was like, okay, so I'm
Yeah.
gonna do the cupping. I want them to feel like they're getting their money's worth. And it would feel good, but a lot of times I would hear back for them like, oh yeah, I felt good, but then it just like the treatment didn't last, it like felt good and then it just came back. So I thought maybe I just wasn't doing enough, but now that I look back, I was doing definitely too much.
But I mean, like, what an amazing reflection to have. I mean, and that's not to say that I don't have those reflections. I have those reflections. Like when I look back to I don't know, like I know the first time that I treated clients, it was like they were like water. They flowed right in, they flowed right out. Like it was awful, and I didn't have any idea what I was doing. And I think we're all a little bit like that in the beginning, and that's completely fair. Because you're flustered and it's clients and they're paying you money and you want to give them service. But I think it's really awesome that you can have the reflection now to be like, this is where I'm at here and this is where I was. I mean, and to be saying that, like, this has only happened for you in a year, right? It's been
Yeah,
about a
I feel
year.
like in this past year, just being involved with ShinKyu has definitely accelerated my confidence and all this. Yeah.
That's really, really cool. It's really exciting for me as a teacher to see that you making that much progress, to be quite honest. I'm so proud, very proud. I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but like I'm really proud. And but it's really exciting for me because I think with that you're getting, I would assume that you're getting a lot more benefit for your clients. So that's my next question for you. Comparably, a year ago to now, what kind of cases, difficulty of cases are you seeing, and what kind of efficacy for your treatment are you able to achieve?
My patients are all like the last resort, like I've seen all the Western medicine doctors, and they're all very, very complicated and hard cases, which definitely did not help my confidence at all, because I would get people that are like, I have radiation poisoning from Chernobyl, help me please.
Oh
Or
my God.
I've had 2 heart attacks and diabetes and COPD. Like, I can't breathe, help me breathe. And it's like, I don't, I don't know
Wow.
how to do it. But now, especially since I got back from Japan. So I feel like the trip to Japan was what really accelerated my practice, to be honest, because I did accelerate up until November. But when I got back, just being in the presence of Yasuda Sensei and Ora Sensei and everybody, and seeing just how jovial they are, they're like, I don't know, whatever, it's like they've reached this point that it's like there's not that much pressure in the treatment, and they just like do the bare minimum and it works. And I feel like they allowed me to, I don't know, just being with them allowed me to just kind of like take a deep breath and be like, it's okay. I don't need to absorb everything. And because part of being alone in this place and being the only acupuncturist, you feel like they're coming to me and I'm the face of Chinese medicine. Like, if it doesn't work with me, it doesn't work at all. Like, they're not going to go see another practitioner. So it's like, I definitely felt really stressed out about it, and had all these experiences with acupuncture where I was like, I know what it can do and I can't do it. And, my confidence just got really shot. But fast forward to being in Japan, where I don't really know really what shifted. I don't really have the words yet, but the importance of treating myself was reiterated over and over. And you've mentioned that to me before too. Like, you got to fill your own cup before you can really treat other people. And that's made a huge difference. Like, just treating myself and learning how to feel the chi. And I think I'm rambling. I forgot the question.
No, but it's so like, speaking of in particular, for those who are watching this and don't know, every year in November, I host the In Touch Japan seminar, and in addition, an Iyashino Michi workshop. It is also happening in 2024. So you can sign up on my website, which is linked in the description box below. Please go sign up. It's amazing, amazing workshop. And one of the things, so ShinKyu is really built on this understanding. And I think, Noelle, you and I are talking about it because we know the program, but it's built in this 3-phase program where the first phase is like you learn on recordings and you practice and you kind of watch theory and you take time to do things when you have time. And then the second phase is coming on to in-person workshops over Zoom and working with me one-on-one to get foundations. And then that third phase is to go to workshops either with me in person and then hopefully to Japan when you can, to learn with my teachers. Right now it's hosted at the school that I graduated from. And it's really built in that specific way for a specific reason. And we talked about this at the Yashinomichi workshop. I think it was you and Emma that I was talking to right over lunch. Was that you? And I was asked, yeah, we talked a lot, but it was really interesting for me to watch because I've had this theory in my mind of how ShinKyu is going to build practitioners and support them for so many years, for probably a decade actually. And it was really, really fun because this was the first year I've been able to see that culmination of it happening in Touch. And it was really beautiful because I could see especially you and Emma, who's also in the platform, and Deirdre really blossom. And you were talking about Ora Sensei and Yasuda Sensei and how carefree and jovial they are. And it's really true. I mean, the reason why I joined Ora Sensei, I've told this story so many times, the reason why I joined Iyashinomichi, excuse me, which because of Orta Sensei's class, and because I was in his class and I was like, Orta Sensei, you treated that point and it was really effective. Why that point? What did you feel? What was there? Tell me all about it. And he like looked at me and he smiled and he laughed, as he does. He goes, ha ha ha, I don't know. And then I was like, wait, what? Like, how can you do something that powerful and have the answer of I don't know? And really, like, the answer is not I don't know. The answer is 30, 40 years of experience on top of a ton of heavy study. And like, he's an amazing practitioner, but it's just not as heavy as it needs to be. And it's relaxed. And it's like, hey, because I felt something, and that's okay to just be that. And we're moving on. And that's what inspired me to get into Yashumichi, because I was like, finally, a group for people like me who can't remember anything. That is my group. These are my people. And then I was really defrauded. I was frauded. There's a lot of study in Yashumichi. But anyway, I think it really says something. And I'd love for you to comment on that, because I know we talked about it a lot in Japan about how you kind of stepped up through the program, and how you were telling me about how the support system like helped you step up, because I saw it as your mentor. Like, I could see things that I've been telling you for 6 or 7 months, like that were slowly clicking into place in the Zoom classes. And then finally, when you got into In Touch, and then finally into Yashunomichi, it was like this, like all the gears started spinning. Can you talk about that at all?
Oh, well, I don't know. I don't know what to say about it. It's like when I got into the Yashinomichi class, first it built off of the In Touch seminar. So the In Touch seminar, we were like going over techniques that you had shown me over Zoom, but like when I actually got to see how people were doing it and got your like hands-on instruction, that's when things started to really click. Like, oh, okay, my posture. Oh, okay. I understand now, or like actually feeling the results in the skin, like Ora Sensei doing a technique, jakutaku, and then I just touched somebody's shoulder, like where he was doing it. And I'm like, oh, okay, these are the changes we're supposed to be feeling. And things started clicking that way. And then in the Yashinomichi seminar, we really focused on feeling the chi and the jia-ki and the cold and the heat, and like getting that sensation and running it through, feeling what it feels like from the needle, the chi running through, and like having that dance with your patient. And it really helped because everybody in the program is so open, and they know what it feels like to have chi moving through them. And a lot of them were really advanced practitioners, like way more experience than I've had. So it felt really nice to be able to work with them and have them give me that feedback of, I'm feeling it. Are you feeling it? And trusting myself, like, oh, I actually am feeling something because they told me they're feeling it. So that helps, because when I came back to my clinic, my patients don't feel anything. And so I'm like, okay, like at least I know I'm feeling it, So yeah, that conversation, that openness, and really connecting with everybody in the program's chi and hearts, like that definitely was something that accelerated everything. And then of course Yasuda Sensei is just great, and
He's amazing.
the way that he explained things, he puts a lot of thought into his ideas, but also he's like he'll say, like, it doesn't matter which point you use, like the whole body's a point. But he put a lot of thought into how these channels work and how the chi flows, and the path of least resistance is like the water course way, like how the flow is going in the body. And so it's not, like you said, it seems like they're not thinking, and it's like, I don't know, I'm just doing it. But there's definitely a lot of theory and a lot of technique, and it's complemented so well by just the self-cultivation and the I don't know, the communication with it. It's definitely a communication. It's a dance between you and your patient and the chi, and it's lovely.
Oh, yeah, I agree. Well, I guess first of all, thank you for that. I couldn't have said it better. And there's the ways that you have said things that I might want to steal, honestly. because I 100% agree. And I'm really glad that the workshop came across that way from the person who put on the workshop, because that's really what we're looking to achieve. And that's what I'm looking to achieve in ShinKyu as well. It's not that, yes, I'd love if you go into Yashinamichi, but for me, it's more that you find that teacher, you have the foundation to then solidly find a teacher to work with. Because, I mean, can you imagine, Noelle, if you went into the Yashinamichi workshop without ever having studied in ShinKyu and without ever having gone to In Touch Japan? Like, how do you think that workshop might have changed if you hadn't had that preface to the
I
work?
think I would be in my head more than I should have been, because I would be
Mm-hmm.
questioning, like, what is that? What is that? What are they talking about? And instead of just being present, I would probably be like, probably asking a bunch of unnecessary questions
Yeah.
that would probably, slow down the group. But yeah, I feel like because I did it in the order, I was able to just go and be and absorb it,
Yeah.
rather than have to force my way to absorb, I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah. It makes 100% sense. It's a difference between, like, I mean, when you drive at a car, you're not thinking, I have to push the gas pedal and I have to brake and I have to shift. Like, you don't think about things, you just do it. And I think what I saw, at least from you, once you got into Iyashimichi, was that you were able to finally get to this place of, yes, there was some thinking of, like, I'm not sure exactly what that means, and let me practice that some more, but there was less of the thinking and more of just the doing. And that's a huge shift in your practice. When you can go from being all top level to being in your hands, that's when you truly start to succeed, in my opinion. And it's a huge shift. So congratulations for making that shift. I think it's really, really big and something you should celebrate. And I'm really excited to see where you go in your practice. I would love to hear, like, what are your goals for your practice as you move forward now that let's see, we're two months, right, past the In Touch Japan Yashimichi workshops. Like, what are your goals now going forward? What do you want to do with your practice? Where do you want to still improve? Like, what do you want to do?
Well, like I said, my big goal is to put the point in, put the needle in, and know exactly what's going to happen, and have that confidence to be like, this is what's going to happen. And even if I don't get the results right there on the table, I know it's going to happen, in a few hours, because I have that experience and that confidence. So that's my big goal. A second one, I guess, where I have some issues is, I came back from Japan, I'm all in my hands, and my patients are like, what are you doing? Why are you doing like that? Blah, blah, blah. And I have to, like, keep going from my head back to my hands. And that's really hard. It's like translating a different language.
Yeah.
So that's hard. Let's see. I mean, I have improvements to make. Like, my moxa, I have to either use water on the point, or I have to put the burn cream on the point to get my moxa to stick. So that's one thing I would like to remove from the equation. And, I don't always get the exact needle, like when I'm doing warming needle technique, it doesn't always get as warm as I want, like, I need to fine tune everything.
I love that. Yeah, that's a really awesome place to be, though. And I mean, honestly, with the translation, I don't know about you, but I feel that, oftentimes once you translate a few things, the same thing a few times, it's a lot easier to say it. So, that comes with practice, but fine tuning is something that I'm still working on. I'm sure Yasuda Sensei would say the same thing, and being able to predict the results with your treatment. I mean, that makes you just like top level. I would say, honestly, so when you get to that point, I think you're going to be a pretty amazing practitioner, and yeah, that's all right. I'm working on that too. So, like, I can't, like, I have no predictions as far as time is concerned, but we will both work to endeavor in that. I mean, but it's such a great place to be, because I just want to remind everyone who's watching, when did you graduate from acupuncture school again? Like, what year in your practice are you?
2021. So I'm in my 3rd year, 3.5 years.
It's a pretty amazing place to be after only 3 years in practice. Most people who are 3 years out of practice are still struggling just to build a practice, not to fine tune their technique. Like that is pretty awesome. And I'm so proud of you. You're doing so great. So awesome.
Thank you.
So with that, I guess I said my last question. My last question for you would be, if someone who's watching this and wants to either improve their current Japanese acupuncture and moxibustion foundations, perhaps find a style, or someone who's watching this and they're like, wow, I'd really love to try Japanese acupuncture and moxibustion, what would be your biggest recommendation for them to start down that path or to continue on?
Besides joining ShinKyu,
Thank you.
just to start, I think it's important to experience Japanese acupuncture from a physician that's already practicing it, just so you know the power that can happen from doing the bare, like from doing such a gentle technique. Because I think sometimes your brain gets in the way and you're like, they're not doing anything, they're just touching my skin. How's it going to work? And the treatment's not going to be as powerful if you're fighting it the whole time. So knowing that it's possible is one step to, actually getting there yourself. Another thing is to not be afraid to like burn yourself with the direct moxa. Just keep practicing. And pretty soon you're going to get it.
That is so true. That is so very true. I mean, that's one of the first things. I don't know if you remember the first class that I teach for the moxa classes at CSDCM. I'm like, you're going to burn yourself and you're going to burn others and people are going to burn you. You're learning. Get used to it. It's just part of it, like it's part of it. It's the same way that you're going to give yourself a bruise and you're going to give other people bruises when you needle them. This happens. Yeah. What great advice. Okay. Well, with that, I will let you go for today. Thank you so much for joining me today and telling everybody on the channel about your practice and your journey up until this point, both in ShinKyu and out of it. And thank you for doing it in 2 different sittings. I appreciate that so much. If anybody's interested in joining ShinKyu, if this seems like a really cool program for you, there is a link to sign up for an interview in the description box below. It is an interview only program. I would love to talk to you about you and your goals. So do go ahead and schedule in an appointment for yourself. And if you are interested in someone else's journey who is a little bit different along the journey, you can check out this video right over here of my very dear friend, Jeffrey Dan, who is an amazing acupuncturist in Japanese acupuncture styles. Thank you everyone for watching. See you soon.